Hi everyone, Craddock here. So today I have for you a Torment 10 speed farm build for Season 6. So very similar to past seasons' Flashfire setup, with the main difference now we're only using the Taurasha set bonus. The 6 piece has been buffed to, I think it's 3000% now, so that's quite a damage boost, and this allows us to place like other utility items, mostly in the form of movement speed. So very fast with this build. I would almost call it reckless and wild. But anyway, you get the point. This is very fast build, plays very comfortable. Anyway, I hope you like it. If you're interested, I'll give you a little bit more info. Let's just head into town and we'll talk about the gear and the skills. So here we are in town. I did have a speed pylon buff active in the last clip, but if you want to see some more gameplay, just click the link on the side, skip the guide. So let's dive right in. Here are the skills. Taurasha, both 4 and 6 piece bonuses. We want at least 4 elements, and though we're not cycling through these, so the 4 piece defensive bonus will not be active at all times. We are getting the 6 piece bonus, and that will be active all the time. The damage bonus is what's important for the speed farming build anyway, so that's good. We're using teleport for mobility. Also, the stun is very good to give us a little bit of defense, sort of crowd control enemies there. Electrocute is the best spell. It has a speed coefficient of 2. It's very quick. All you really want it for is just proc your focus and restraint when you need that extra damage. You don't need it all the time, so just keep moving if you don't need it. But I prefer the Arc Lightning rune. It's a close range. I figure you're going to be close up anyway. If you need the extra damage, you're going to be able to hit them. But if you don't, if you like having a ranged effect, you can go with the Lightning Blast rune. It is very strong still, and it's very quick and light, so there you go. The other skill is Frost Nova Frozen Mist. We use this because it's free. Mostly, the resource cost reduction requirement in this build is very high. Having a free spell here is very nice. It's also a very wide effect. It spreads your damage nice. It's pretty nice with the In-Geom. The Explosive Blast is our main damage component. So we have a lot of movement speed in this build. We have close to 270% total movement speed you can get from items and skills. That seems like a lot, but since not all of the bonuses are active at any one point in time, I seem to see somewhere in the range of 170 to 220% movement speed with this build on average. But when they all proc at the same time, man, you just run through the map. It's very nice. But let's go over some of those bonuses. So we've got the big thing here, big change, is that we're not running the Prism Room on Diamond Skin. We're running Sleek Shell. So Prism would give you the resource management of the build, but since we're sacrificing that, we get extra movement speed. This buff, since it's up 100% of the time with your In-Geom, it will give you a lot of defense, a lot of run speed, and it's very nice now. So another bonus is the Illusionist, so we want to be casting teleport at least once every 3 seconds. The thing about this build is, since you have so much movement speed, you don't feel like you have to cast teleport quite as much, but teleport will help you move in between packs, so you should use it. Now, other speed bonuses include Scramble, so when we get hit, we get 25% move speed. Also, something that interacts with the Diamond Skin as well is the Chrome's Buff Belt, so when we take damage, the Chrome's Buff Belt buff will go down, but that does not go into effect while we're taking damage on our shield. So we kind of leverage the fact that we have Diamond Skin Sleek Shell up to keep this buff up as well. So that's a very nice interaction there. You also have the Warzekins in this build, so every time we destroy a wreckable object, you gain a short burst of speed. It's 50% movement speed. I think it lasts for about 4 seconds. So that's very nice, and we can proc this item. Something that helps proc it is one of our legendary gems. We have Wreath of Lightning in this build, so very cool effect. You know, a mini conduit just goes out, lets you run faster, but it also will destroy those objects, get you that extra dimensional speed buff. This is super cool. Anyway, very good placement in this build. And we also have the Boon of the Hoarder as one of our other legendary gems. This gives us a speed boost when we pick up gold, As we're killing monsters, they will drop gold. Since we have a lot of pickup radius in this build, this works out very well, especially with the corruption shoulders, and there's also a bonus from the gloves of worship that we were wearing in the cube that gives us extra pickup radius. That bonus is fleet-footed, so fleet-footed will also give us additional run speed, so 25% extra run speed from this buff once we get going. It really takes like 5 to 10 minutes to find one, but after that you can start cruising through maps and it just works out very well. So the one item I think that is key to this build is the illusory boots. These allow you to run through enemies. You're not like running into a huge pack that you have to teleport over or anything like that. You can just cruise right through them, position your explosive blast, and kill them all really quickly. You will also get movement speed from Nephilim Glory. Nephilim Glory gives 10%, which is very nice, and I think that brings us to our grand total. So how did I slot this much movement speed into the build? And the answer is with great sacrifice. So I gave up a lot in terms of affixes on gear, and to be able to have the amount of item slots required to balance both offense and defense in the build and make sure that I have everything required to make it sort of not fall apart. As you can see here, I have near 45%. You really want closer to 46%, as much as you can get without sacrificing crit or crit hit damage, and that'll get you going. So you'll notice I gave up a lot of affixes and my health is now really low. This is a very glassy build, so what I had to do is I put in the Orb of Infinite Depth. So this will give us the damage reduction needed to sort of balance out not having a second life passive and not having a lot of defensive affixes. This keeps us alive, and it'll also give us a lot of damage. The 20% damage once it stacks up is multiplicative, so this is a huge item for this build, and I really didn't feel you needed something like Cosmic Strand, which gives you the wormhole rune, so you could kind of double jump. Since there's a lot of movement speed, you don't really want to be jumping around with teleport all that much. The illusory boots allow you to kind of position perfectly and deal damage gradually to entire crowds of monsters. It's very nice. Sometimes you sweep through and they just like do a wave of death animation. It's very satisfying. So on that note, where are we getting the damage from this build? Most of it is coming from the Wand of Woe. Wand of Woe gives you up to 12 blasts per cast, and it's a huge damage bonus, especially since it adds on the extra explosive blast damage as an affix. In combination with the In-Geom, reducing our cooldowns. This means explosive blast, since it is less than 10 seconds, will be reduced to 0, and the internal cooldown on explosive blast is still half a second, so you have to go by that. Something to note is that to be able to also manage resource in this build, you will need to use a macro or something of the sort, because even with this amount of resource cost reduction, you still need to have some sort of minor delay in between your explosive blast casts. And that delay I've calculated at this level of resource or at max level resource would be about 0.2 seconds, so 2/10 of a second additional delay is what you'll want to kind of play around with, and I advise you to test on your own, kind of figure it out yourself, but that's what I've been running with, and it seems to be working out fairly well. So the other damage bonus here is Focus and Restraint. You always have 50%, but when you need it, you can proc it, go up to 125 with your signature. Very nice. So the other thing here with In-Geom is you will have to kill the entire elite pack. Goblins do count as an elite pack, so if you find one, you can proc this really easy. There is another thing with In-Geom, interaction with teleport. So teleport 11 seconds base, In-Geom only reduces 10. It's a 1 second gap, right? Well, your cooldown reduction still applies to the remaining amount. And since the internal cooldown for the teleport spell is still half a second, you would need 50% to get that all the way down. Right now, for this build, you're going to want anywhere from 42 minimum up to about 46 or so. That would be allow you a better amount. Actually, that's what I prefer to be at. It would give you a little bit more leeway in terms of your shielding, but this is fine. The small gap that you would have in addition is something like tenth of a second, so you'd only have like a zero point 0.6 cooldown on teleport. Since you're running around so much, doesn't matter. You can still get by fairly well at this level of cooldown, and cooldown doesn't matter once you have In-Geom procced anyway. So this is more than enough, I think. The real reason for having at least like say 42% cooldown is because you're going to want 100% uptime of your diamond skin. Since this is the only shielding ability you have in the build, it's the only way you're going to be able to keep up your Krelm's buff belt. So other passives in the build include Audacity for the additional damage. Uh, Evocation just happens to be the most efficient way to fit in cooldown, considering you have to slot so much resource cost reduction in the build. So this is where I went with that. Astral Presence to bridge the gap between your resource cost reduction and how fast you can cast Explosive Blast. I prefer it with this. You could instead just add more of a gap. That would reduce your damage. I think it's unacceptable, but you could swap this out potentially. And the other resource regeneration mechanic that is required is going to be your Templar's Inspire ability. You will want this, especially when solo. If you are running group, the easiest swap you can make to make up for adjustment is just reassign your Astral Presence to something else, possibly Unstable Anomaly, maybe Galvanizing Ward, or Elemental Exposure, something else. And then you slot, instead of Scramble, you just put in Familiar. This will give you enough resource with the Arcanaut rune to continue casting, and you won't have to worry even in group. So there are a couple of other swaps that you can make with this build. Let me quickly go over the other gem. We are using Pain Enhancer. It gives you a nice bleed effect. You want to stack as much crit as possible to be able to proc this gem. It's very nice now that the damage on Taurasha is so high, especially when you have higher Paragon and augments. You don't really need Bane of the Trapped anymore. Even with the multiplicative bonus gone, it's still a very strong build. You may want to swap in Bane of the Trapped for a group build, or if you're like on the cusp between getting, into T10 from T9, you might want to just slot this in and get you a boost. I would put it likely in place of Wreath of Lightning, since that effect isn't up all the time, but you could swap out, if you still want the damage from Wreath of Lightning, you could swap out Boon of the Hoarder as well. Either one works fine. And another swap you could make, I keep Nemesis Bracers. I swap them out manually, but if you want this effect in the build, you could put it in place of the cube. You could swap out the Gloves of Worship and just use the Nemesis Bracers, or you could use the Taurasha Source and instead wear the Gloves of Worship and cube this then. Another swap you could possibly make for this build is if you don't quite have the rolls on gear needed to meet the resource, you could just swap in the Cinder Coat. You would want to wear this item because it gives fire damage. Fire damage is very good, and you'd be able to drop a lot of resource, but you would have to give up either the Gloves of Worship and the cube, or you could swap out the Orb of Infinite Depth. One thing that you could do if you do swap in the Cinder Coat is definitely get rid of the Astral Presence. You would want to go with one of the other passives I mentioned earlier. So let's quickly go over the affixes for the build. As mentioned, a lot of resource, so you're going to want resource on your shoulder, on your gloves, on your rings, both of them. And then you're also going to want resource on your source and on your weapon. Seems like a lot, but it's what you have to do if you're not using the Cinder Code or some other means. So, other rolls that you're going to want: Explosive Blast damage. You really want Explosive Blast damage on both your chest and your shoulder. I didn't have a proper corruption rolled, so I had to put this one in. It's a really bad one. Don't look at it. The rolls you want are similar to this item here, except with the corruption. You're going to want int cooldown uh, RCR and explosive blast damage. This is the only cooldown roll you will need on all of your gear. That's one of the strengths of this setup, since we're using evocation and the diamond and the helmet. In addition to this and Paragon, that gives you enough cooldown for the build. You can opt, that's for the minimum. You can opt to roll cooldown on the source, and that might work out better in place of the explosive blast damage I have here. So that's another option you can make to get that 46% cooldown, give you a little bit more leeway on casting that diamond skin. Other offensive affixes include on your rings, you're going to want crit and crit hit damage for both your rings. And for your amulet, crit hit damage. So you're going to want fire damage on your amulet. You're also going to want fire damage on your bracers, crit on your bracer, crit on your source, crit on your gloves, crit hit damage on your gloves, all the normal stuff. And then for your weapon, you really want to see resource cost reduction, intellect, and percent damage increase, which would be the best rolls here. Mine is not perfectly rolled, so it's something you need to consider. And defense in this build is not very high, but you definitely want vitality on your helmet. You're probably going to want armor on your chest piece, and in addition to your pants as well. So you want int-fight armor on the pants, and then I would recommend putting armor as well on your boots. I think illusory automatically roll with all resist, so you want int-fight, all resist, and armor. So I think that's it. So I hope you enjoy this build. It's been a blast testing it on the PTR, and I'll let you watch some more clips of the gameplay.